Thank you all for being here tonight. I know some of you had to brave the blizzard to get here. Those of you coming from north or from east, we're all very thankful that you're here tonight to join us for the 16th Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation Hall of Fame. Thank you all who are attending here tonight in person, and a special welcome to those who are watching our live stream online. I'm Kane Farabaugh. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Midwest TV correspondent for Voice of America. I'm also an independent documentary producer, and I'm a very proud 1995 Ottawa Township High School graduate. Thank you. And in 2020, I was inducted into the Ottawa Township High School Hall of Fame, and I'm very proud of that as well. I'm currently the president of the Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation, and for the last 11 years, I've had the great honor of being the host or master of ceremonies for this event. It's an honor for me to be here again tonight in front of so many talented and accomplished men and women. I want to take a moment here, and if I could ask those of you who are here tonight who are previous inductees into the Ottawa Township High School Hall of Fame or family members representing OTHS Hall of Fame members, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you for making our school proud and for being here tonight to welcome more members into this club. I'd also like to take a moment for us here tonight to honor and recognize all those present who have served or are serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. Could you please stand? On behalf of this school, thank you. Thank you very much for your service to our country. It's now my honor to introduce you to Ottawa Township High School Superintendent, Dr. Mike Cushing. Dr. Cushing has been superintendent since 2015. He's a 1992 graduate of Marquette High School, and his wife Ingrid, who serves as the principal of LaSalle Peru High School, is a 1995 graduate of Ottawa High School. Mike?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please give Kane Farabaugh a round of applause as a thank you for being our MC for tonight's events. Kane will return in a brief moment to introduce each of tonight's inductees. Good evening and welcome, Hall of Fame honorees, family members, and friends. On behalf of Ottawa Township High School's Board of Education, Administration, faculty, staff, and students, I would like to congratulate each of tonight's inductees. I would also like to thank a number of people who made tonight's induction ceremony possible. I would ask that you please hold your applause until all are recognized. Thank you to the Decade, Nominating, and Selection Committee members for the time and effort that goes into the selection process. Thank you to those involved with the organization and decorating necessary to present tonight's ceremony. This includes Brad Johnson, Randy Green, Patrick Myers, and the OTHS custodial staff. Additional thank yous to Don Harris, Dan Isles, Susan McDonald, and Kelly Schmidt for their countless hours of work preparing for this weekend's events. And a final thank you to the OTHS Educational Foundation. The induction ceremony and dinner would not be possible without the Foundation's continued support. Please join with me in giving these individuals and groups a round of applause. At this time, I will ask Kane to return to the podium to introduce tonight's inductees.
So just a brief comment here. I know you're going to be doing a lot of clapping. There's going to be a lot of that tonight, so just get used to that. But why don't we all give ourselves a round of applause, because this is the biggest crowd we've had in almost a decade coming to the Hall of Fame Foundation, and it's great to see so many faces out here, especially after COVID. So thank you all for being here tonight. Yes. It's my honor at this time to introduce my fellow Ottawa Township High School District 140 Educational Foundation Board member, Rob Hasty, who was a 1994 graduate of Ottawa High School, to tell you a little bit more about our foundation. Rob?
Good evening, everyone. Established in 1993, the Ottawa Township High School District 140 Educational Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit private foundation that secures and channels private funds to support and promote the educational programs and activities of Ottawa Township High School students. Through generous donations, the foundation provides grants to purchase new equipment, promote innovative teaching initiatives, and augment scholastic resources beyond the fiscal constraints of the school's normal operations. The foundation has provided approximately $400,000 in such grants and other support to date, in addition to ensuring that our students are exposed to the most relevant and ever-changing technology and other educational resources. The foundation is responsible for the Courtyard Project outside Kingman Gym, the Hall of Fame, and the Student of the Month. Our hope is that through additional contributions and growth, the foundation can continue making an impact on Ottawa Township High School and the students of the district. One might ask why a public entity such as Ottawa Township High School needs assistance from a private foundation that is independent from high school itself. The fact is that Illinois ranks relatively low among states in direct funding for its schools. Yet the majority of the more than 2 million students that currently attend Illinois public schools will stay to live and work in Illinois throughout their adult lives. The economic vitality, future growth, and development and quality of life that we all share will be impacted by this demographic reality. We believe that assisting in the pursuit of educational excellence not only enriches the lives of today's students, but also impacts our communities and collective future as well. The Hall of Fame was established by the foundation to inspire and acknowledge excellence in achievement, be it academic, the fine arts, athletics, or other distinguished achievements. In highlighting the accomplishments of inductees, we believe that current students will be inspired by the standard of excellence and accomplishment achieved by their predecessors. And therefore, we will better foster a culture of excellence and achievement. We are very pleased that the 2023 group of inductees establishes a high standard of excellence for those who follow. It is difficult to categorize our inductees into single disciplines because their accomplishments consistently exhibit excellence in a variety of endeavors. The interconnectedness of tonight's inductees is remarkable. The Ottawa Township High School as the consistent, enduring accomplishment. We congratulate you all on your induction and achievements, and thank you for examples that you have set. We are proud of what you have meant to Ottawa Township High School, and we look forward to your induction this evening. Thank you.
They want me to stick to the script, so I got to make sure I'm on the right page, right? Thanks, Rob. During this 145th year of Ottawa Township High School, I again welcome you all to our 16th Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony provides a unique opportunity to honor those selected. Inductees are selected by way of a three-tiered process. Considered for recognition and selection are individuals, OTHS teams, and OTHS groups nominated during an open application process in which anyone can put forward a recommendation for induction. The focus of the Hall of Fame is to recognize excellence in achievement while a high school student after leaving Ottawa Township High School, or a combination of both. Some honorees also may not have attended Ottawa Township High School, but are significant and accomplished contributors to the school, our community, and our society. I am personally honored this evening to have the opportunity to recognize a very special group of 3 individuals, a music department, and 1 team. The central plaque on the 400-floor wall, where all of the Hall of Fame inductees plaques are located, and I know that we're not in that hall, but hopefully, how many of you have been able to take a look at the Hall of Fame since you've been here in the school the last couple of days? It's okay, you can raise your hand, we're in school, right? We can do that. That's great. If you didn't have a chance to do that, if you get a chance and you're around here in the 400th floor right in front of the new cafeteria, which would have been the wood or electronics shop when some of you were here, it's right next to the gymnasium. That's where the Hall of Fame is, and it's great to look around and see all those plaques in that hall. But when you look at the plaque at the central part of that wall, it describes the overarching theme of the OTHS Hall of Fame. Each year we make it a point to read the following passage during the induction ceremony, and it's on that central plaque. In bold is the statement, "From ordinary beginnings, many, through determination, commitment, effort, and high expectations, have accomplished the extraordinary. I would like to personally thank all of the inductees for their numerous contributions accomplishing the extraordinary. You make us all proud to be a part of Ottawa Township High School. But tonight's ceremony is about the inductees, so it's time for us to hear from them or their representatives. And the first inductee in tonight's ceremony is Dr. David Manigold. Upon graduation from Ottawa High School in 1969, David Manigold attended Northern Illinois University, graduating in 1973 with a degree in biology. He then attended graduate school and then medical school at the University of Illinois. After completing residency in internal medicine at Blodgett and St. Mary's Hospitals in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Dr. Manigold returned to Ottawa in 1981 and joined the Ottawa Medical Center. He has served multiple terms as president for both the Medical Center and the Ottawa Hospital medical staff. He also volunteered at the Health Center of Eastern LaSalle County Free Clinic and served as a volunteer physician at OTHS football games for 20 years. And anybody who's come to some of those games, you've seen Dr. Manigold with his pack on his side there on the sidelines, and it's always good to see him there. Dr. Manigold has served as president of the University of Illinois Alumni Association and further volunteered his time serving for over 2 decades as chairman of the Ottawa Police and Fire Commission. He has been president of the Ottawa Concert Association since 1989, and he has been a driving and integral force as a volunteer coordinator developing the Dayton Bluffs Preserve, restoring a pioneer cemetery, developing the Dayton Bluff hiking trails, and in the process achieving the certification as University of Illinois Master Naturalist. It is my honor tonight to introduce Dr. David Manigold.
So the main substance of my remarks have to do with my second career, but my wife said I should say something about my first career. So I have an anecdote. Maybe it'll break the ice a little bit. Maybe it'll relax me. So in the 20 years that I attended the football games here at Ottawa High School, you should know that my background as an internist is taking care of older individuals, those of us that look like me, adults, people with diabetes and high blood pressure and occasionally heart attacks and heart failure. As a high school football volunteer, you're usually seeing young people with sprains and maybe a fracture or two, but it's not, although I have a foundation in orthopedics, it's not my basic specialty. So usually it was running out, seeing those individuals with those sprains and fractures, but one night a referee went down, somebody with hair that looked like mine, and I thought, oh my God, this is my bailiwick, this is something that I can treat. So I ran out onto the field, and the guy was writhing on the ground. I said, what happened? He said, one of the players stepped on my foot, and I broke it 6 weeks ago, and it should be mending, and now I've broken it again. So my best intentions, it was still another orthopedic problem. That was my first career, but what I want to talk about now is my second career, and I want to tell you a story about volunteers. So 8 years ago, while I was still practicing medicine, I attended an open house at the Dayton Bluffs Preserve. The Conservation Foundation Naperville had purchased the property that included a mile of the lower Fox River shoreline, 150 acres of high-quality woodlands, and 100 acres of agricultural land. And their intent was to create a natural area that the public of Ottawa could enjoy. And the agricultural lands were going to be planted in tall grass prairie, the type of prairie that greeted the pioneers 200 years ago. And when I heard the presentation, I thought, this sounds like a lot of fun, and it'll be a legacy that we can leave to our children and our grandchildren. So down the road, we started working, the volunteers started working monthly, and later on, many volunteers were working weekly and sometimes several days per week, volunteering at the preserve. The volunteers cleared dozens of acres of honeysuckle and buckthorn and hundreds of pounds of garlic mustard. They cleared at least 3 tons of garbage from the ravines. They collected, processed, and redistributed hundreds of pounds of prairie seed. They laid out and cleared 7 miles of trails. They restored 2 pole bridges and built 3 new bridges. They restored a 180-year-old abandoned pioneer cemetery over 3 years. They worked when it was 8 degrees, and they worked when it was 94 degrees in the shade. They worked when it was snowing and when it was raining. By the way, we didn't work when it was thundering and lightning, so you had that to know. But in the last 3 years, our volunteers put in an average of 2,000 hours per year, which comes to a value of just under $200,000 of work service provided to the Dayton Bluffs. So what's the end result? Well, I think I was accurate in my prediction about the legacy that we've left. The preserve has become a haven for many forms of wildlife, including white-tailed deer and wild turkeys, coyotes and foxes, beavers and minks, and many birds and butterflies. And we are also the home of the state champion red mulberry tree. That's kind of like the Hall of Fame for trees. Another Hall of Fame. Many birders and professional photographers visit, and dogs often bring their masters with them. But the thing that I'm proudest of is a program that we call the Mighty Acorns. The Conservation Foundation brings out 4th and 5th graders from 3 area schools 3 times per year to expose them to the lessons and values of having nature areas in our area. And it's great to see the delight in these kids' faces when they hop off the bus and start running through the prairie. And they sometimes help us with the collection and distribution of seed. So that's been part of that legacy that I talked about. I'd like to thank the volunteers on the Educational Foundation, another type of volunteer, and recognize that many of you volunteer in your community, and thank you for your volunteer service. I'd like to acknowledge my parents who instilled the value of volunteering in me and my siblings. And lastly, I'd like to thank the Ottawa High School teachers that called on me when I raised my hand with either a question or an answer and helped to foster my interest in science, both natural and otherwise. So I thank you for your attention and good luck. Thank you.
Our next inductee tonight is William Bill Nevin, a 1982 graduate of Ottawa Township High School. His senior year at OTHS, he was president of the class, student council, and National Honor Society. He was the first recipient of the Alex and Virginia Scherer Scholarship, placed 8th in the state for IHSA speech individual events radio speaking, and was one of only 5 students statewide honored with a plaque by the Illinois State Board of Education in the Those Who Excel Awards competition, among many other accomplishments and awards. After graduating from IVCC cum laude in 1984, he went on to Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, receiving a Bachelor of Science degree in 1986 in radio television. He then began a very successful broadcasting and communications career. He is currently the Associate Vice President for Communications for the West Virginia University Foundation. Additionally, he teaches at West Virginia University as an adjunct instructor in its graduate program, a course which he developed in voice performance for announcing. In 2019, he was named one of West Virginia University's most influential by the Daily Athenaeum newspaper. Also in 2019, he was honored for 15 years of announcing for the WVU's marching band, was the public address announcer for an NCAA Division I baseball regional tournament, public address announcer for the NCAA National Rifle Championships, and selected National College Sports Public Address Announcer of the Year by the NASPAA. Currently, in 2022, he celebrated his 7th season as public address announcer for the West Virginia Black Bears of Major League Baseball's Draft League, received the WVU Reed College of Media Alumni Commitment to Service Award, and became a WVU Greek Alumni Hall of Fame inductee. Please join me tonight in welcoming Mr. Bill Nevin.
Thank you, Kane, for that warm introduction. It is truly great to be back in Ottawa. It can be very dangerous, and I think Kane can relate to that, to hand the microphone over to someone who makes their living behind the microphone. But I'll try to stay within the time limits, but I did come all the way from West Virginia, so if I do go a couple minutes over, I hope you'll forgive me. I was just thinking, as I sat here and was talking with Dr. Manigold, it was 44 years ago, 1979, I believe, my sophomore year, the OHS drama department did a production right here on this very stage. It was based on the popular TV comedy at the time, All in the Family, and it was entitled An Evening with Archie Bunker. And, well, I played Archie Bunker. And I can promise you there will be no prejudiced comments or Edith jokes in my remarks tonight. I want to start by congratulating my fellow inductees. It's nice to see the decade of the 1980s represented well today. I also wanted to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, Dan Isles, for the nomination, for finding me worthy of this honor. I'm extremely grateful and humbled by it. I want to especially thank Susan McDonald for all her hard work and efforts in organizing this weekend and dealing with about 30 of my family members coming in from all over the country and getting them ticketed. Can we give Susan a round of applause? I grew up just north of here in Wallace Township, an ordinary farm boy, if you will, but I had an extraordinary family that provided and continues to provide great love and support, and that's evidenced by them all being here this afternoon. My oldest sister, Beth, and her husband, Joe, from North Carolina, my sister, Nancy, and her husband from Wisconsin, John, my brother, Bob, and his wife, Margaret, from here in Ottawa. Nancy and Bob are OHS grads. My sister, Sue, who we lost a few years ago. I know she's here in spirit. My brother-in-law, Frank, and Candy, thank you for coming. And all of their families, my nieces and nephews, are here today. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming. And I also want to thank my wonderful wife of 30 years, Cindy, who's been by my side. My two children are here, Sierra and Craig, and Connor and Claire. Thank you for your love and support. My folks, who have since gone on to their heavenly reward, instilled in all of us the values of hard work, perseverance, and giving 100% effort in whatever we did. They always said to do the right thing. And I was blessed to have many teachers of that same mindset all during my formative years at Wallace Grade School. Teachers like Boots Ike and Peg Walsh, Cam McLaughlin, Selma Nelson, Marilyn Smith. They made sure we were ready for high school by drilling into us the basic skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. They were disciplinarians, but they cared about you because they loved teaching, and that was their passion. So when I got to OHS, I remember it being like going from a big fish in a little pond to a little fish in a big pond. Because we only had 23 that graduated, I believe, from Wallace Grade School. But I was amazed at all the opportunities and activities, and for 4 years here, I just tried to get involved in as much as I could. Along the way here, I had some tremendous teachers and mentors who pushed us to succeed and provided great inspiration. Many of them are in the OHS Hall of Fame, and today I want to talk about a few of them and their lifelong impact on me as a student. Mrs. Mary Fennessy Morgan, she'll always be known to me as Miss Fennessy, our guidance counselor. She made that transition for us from small Wallace to big OHS much easier. She encouraged us to get involved in everything. She was our biggest fan, and I think she kept us Wallace kids under her wing because that's where she came from. And her mom, Maxine, was our superintendent at Wallace Grade School for many years. The late Mr. June Gross, along with teaching me and thousands of others how to drive, he gave me an opportunity I will always cherish. I had this fascination growing up, and I still do, with officiating. If my eyes weren't so bad, I had a desire to become a Major League Baseball umpire at one time. And I think it was my sophomore year, and if you remember Mr. Gross, he helped run the city softball league, and back in the 80s, softball was king in town. I mean, every night there were softball games going on here, lots of teams. And I went to Mr. Gross and I said, you know, I'd like to be, I'd like to be an umpire. Can I umpire down at the softball diamonds? And if you remember Mr. Gross, he talked with a real calming effect, and it was kind of direct, and he said, "You want to do what?" And I said, "I want to umpire." And he said, "I don't think you want to do that." He said, "They'll eat you up down there." No. Well, I persisted, and Mr. Gross finally gave in and put me on the women's softball diamond, worked my way up to the men's side, did men's softball 4 nights a week, played a 5th night, did the city championship game when I was in high school here. Mr. Gross gave me that opportunity that I will never forget. Then there's Mr. Bill Myers. Innate ability to connect with students of all walks of life. My first encounter with Mr. Myers was freshman football. I hadn't even taken any classes yet. Over in the gymnasium, he came out, and Mr. Myers gave this real passionate speech, not necessarily about how we were going to play football, but about approaching life. And I don't know if this was his quote or he took this quote from somebody else, but I remember it. He said, "Whatever you do, you need to approach things with vim, vigor, and vitality." And that quote has always stuck with me in whatever I do. And Mr. Myers, too, he was such a well-rounded guy. It was okay, he said, for guys to like the fine arts, literature, poetry, creative writing, and of course, if you remember, good Willie Nelson music. Then there's Mr. Harry Adrian, one of the finest teachers to ever walk these hallways, in my opinion. His advanced composition class was harder than most college classes I ever took. One day, Mr. Adrian come up to me and he said, "Bill, I'd like you to be my teaching assistant." I said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Well, I want you to come and help me, do advanced composition planning and things like that." And I said, "Well, I don't really, when am I going to do that?" And he said, "I'll work it out." Went down, must have got with Miss Fennessy, and next thing I knew, I was a teaching assistant for Mr. Adrian during his planning period, and I learned so much from him during that particular time. Not so much about English and advanced comp, but just life in general. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Gary Reardon, another teacher and coach at the time. This was when women's basketball was just starting to get going. And he come up to me and he's, again, another opportunity. He said, "Hey, we need a public address announcer for our women's games. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Sure." And little did I know that that would be the start of something that I have enjoyed for many, many years now, public address work, but thanks to Coach Reardon. Coach Vancil, I hope you're recuperating. I wish you were here tonight. Gave me the opportunity to be the Pirate mascot. He was the boys' basketball coach at the time. Shout out to the late Mr. John Duffin and Mr. Ev Lunning. They spent hundreds of hours with me, literally hundreds of hours coaching competitive speech. Helped me to launch my radio career. And then last but not least, the late Mr. Vince Lyons. Mr. Lyons was president of the school board our senior year. He was like a second father to me, a great mentor, because I spent so much time at the Lyons house growing up. His son, Phil, hope you made it down from Wisconsin, Phil. One of my best friends since childhood. We've been classmates at Wallace, OHS, IVCC, and Southern Illinois University. My favorite story about Mr. Lyons, we had some wild ideas my senior year, and one of them was we wanted to graduate out on King Field. The tradition was that you always graduated in Kingman Gymnasium. And we went to the administration, some of us, my vice president, Steve Girding. Are you here today? Steve, Phil. We went to, I think the principal at the time was Mr. Johnston, and the administrative assistant was Ken Fred, and we went to them and we said, "Hey, we want to graduate out on King Field." And they said, "Absolutely not." It could rain. There's going to be mosquitoes. The parents are going to be way too far away from the field. No, no, no. Well, we thought about it, and we went back, and we said, well, how about if we approach the school board about it? And they said, well, you can do that. But they said, you know, most of the time the school board always sides with the administration, probably about 99% of the time. And we said, okay. But there's always that 1%, right? We had that ace in our pocket, Mr. Lyons, who was the president of the school board. We went to him and we said, hey, here's what we want to do. He said, I think I can round up the votes for you. So we went to the school board meeting on a Monday night. The administration made their case. We made our case. 7-0 in favor of the students. And so there was all this discussion at the meeting about, well, who's going to take down the seats and the stage and all of this stuff. And I still have the article from the local newspaper. Joanne Eustace was the reporter at the time, and she wrote that board member Maynard Galley at the time, he spoke up during all this discussion about who was going to do this and who's going to do that, and he said, the school board will. Mr. Lyons, another person who I learned so much from. I'm going to conclude here. I know there are many others, too numerous to mention, but from the bottom line really is the common denominator. I am where I am today because of two things: a loving, caring, supportive family, and a support system outside the family of loving, caring, inspiring, encouraging teachers and mentors like the ones I mentioned. The Lord has truly blessed me in having both. I've received numerous recognitions over the years, but none more meaningful than this one. My 4 years here were some of the best and set me up for success in life. I'll be forever appreciative and grateful for this honor. Thank you all very much.
Our next inductee tonight is Coree Woltering, who graduated from Ottawa Township High School in 2008. Coree was very involved and accomplished in extracurricular activities at OTHS. He participated for 4 years in varsity teams as a soccer player, track and field athlete, and cross-country runner. He was also a varsity cheerleader, junior varsity swimmer, 4-year member of the OTHS State Championship Music Department, and also spent 2 years on the varsity speech team, including winning a conference championship. Coree also spent 3 years in the Fine Arts Club and 2 years serving on student council. He achieved some of his greatest accomplishments at OTHS as a runner, placing 23rd in the AAIHSA Cross Country Regional, finishing as the 3rd individual sectional qualifier in 2004. He placed 17th and was the 1st individual sectional qualifier in 2005. And placed 10th and was the 1st individual sectional qualifier again in 2006. In track in 2008, he was the AA sectional champion and state qualifier in the 800-meter event. He is now an accomplished trail runner and is a professional ultra runner. He is the record holder for the fastest time completing the Ice Age Trail, a 1,147-mile historic footpath that runs through the state of Wisconsin. While competing as a track athlete for Greenville College, he also competed in triathlons. He qualified for the Ironman World Championships twice in 2012 and 2013. After graduation, he moved to Boulder, Colorado, and got involved in ultra trail running. He won every trail ultra he entered in 2015, including the Malibu Canyon 50K and the Tunnel Hill 50 Mile. In 2016, he reduced his personal best in the marathon by 9 minutes in the Mercedes Marathon in Birmingham, Alabama, finishing in 2nd place. Then bested that later by 2 more minutes, finishing in 2 hours and 26 minutes in the Chicago Marathon, finishing 44th out of 40,608 runners. Later that year, he ran the 3rd fastest 50-mile trail run in North America at Tunnel Hill. In 2020, he completed the run in 21 days, 13 hours, and 35 minutes, besting the previous record by 5 hours, and in the process raised $35,000 for Feeding America. Among his extraordinary running accomplishments are 2 Ironman 70.3 World Championship finishes, 2 Land Between the Lakes Marathon Championships and course record, 2 Starved Rock Country Marathon Championships and course record, 2 Tunnel Hill 50-mile championships, and 15 other different trail course records and 22 ultra marathon podium finishes. It is my honor tonight, and we should all be tired after all of that, right? It is my honor tonight to introduce Coree Woltering.
Whew, I'm tired just listening to that. Wow, so I graduated 15 years ago, and it is wild to be just standing on this stage again. It seems like it was just yesterday. So I'd like to say thank you, Dan, for the nomination and for, accepting me into the Hall of Fame. So running. Running is just, it's what I do. I love it, but I have a funny story to tell. So I always say, my first race was against my grandfather in a church parking lot. And, I was 7 years old, and I thought I was the fastest kid out there. And so, of course, I should be able to beat my grandfather, right? Well, turns out he beat me across the church parking lot. So when we got there, I said, turn around, we have to go back. And I beat him on the way back. So technically, I'm going to say my first race was a tie. Yeah, but I guess Grandpa really did win. So I've just always been a competitive person. I've always had just a ton of energy. And my mom used to make me just go out and run around the block as a kid. She'd be like, yeah, you're going to skip this time. You're going to hop. You're going to jump. You're going to run sideways. You're going to do whatever, trying to burn out all of the energy. And it just never worked. Clearly. I'm still running today, right? So, it's really funny because now that I think about it, I literally get paid to run 100-mile races through the mountains all over the world. And growing up, I had no idea that could even be a career, a job, something I would do, something I was even interested in. But the foundation was laid way back then. So, one of my favorite quotes from my dad is, if you're going to be dumb, you have to be tough. And so I think it's really funny because is running 100 miles smart? Probably not. So I like to think that I'm pretty tough because I keep doing it. But it has been able to take me all over the world, all over the country, Peru, Argentina, Japan, Fiji. I've been able to do some of these amazing things, all starting from, back running around the block as a kid, just burning off that energy. So, high school, junior high school here in Ottawa, I loved it. I had some great teachers, some great coaches. One of my favorites, John Personette, JP, he was an amazing coach. And I remember as a freshman walking onto the track team, he told me, hey kid, you have a ton of talent, but I want you to have the full high school experience. If you decide that you want to be a state champion, you absolutely could be the state champion. But he's like, you're interested in music, you're interested in art, you're interested in everything. So he goes, you know what, pursue that. He's like, running will still be there when you are done with high school, when you are done with college. And I kind of thought about that, and it's like, I don't know, will running still be there? I had no idea. Turns out JP is a pretty smart man. So yeah, it was one of those things where I've just always been encouraged by teachers, coaches, my parents, aunts and uncles, just family, friends. And so I would not be standing up here saying, oh, I'm a professional ultra runner for the North Face without the help of everybody that's sitting out there, my friends, past teammates. So just thank you guys all for that. It really has been an amazing journey. And one closing story about perseverance and just kind of sticking through, tough times and just all of these things, I guess. Back in 2019, maybe it was 2020, one of those years, 2019. I raced Eco Challenge Fiji. And so what that was basically this 350-mile adventure race that includes sailing, kayaking, rafting, climbing, trekking, mountain biking, you know, all the typical sports that we have right here in Ottawa, Illinois. I remember the first night that we were in this race, and we were sailing, and it's from the main island in Fiji out to just one of the smaller islands, and basically you had to collect this coin when you're out there. And I was sitting there as the sun is starting to come up, sailing with 3 of my teammates, you know, on the South Pacific, literally navigating with a map and a compass, and just thinking, wow, who would have thought a kid from Ottawa, Illinois would ever be sailing on the South Pacific, racing an Eco Challenge? Like, that's pretty amazing. And, you know, it's that never-ending drive of the curiosity and just figuring out what's next. Where can we go? What can we explore? What can we do? But that all started right here. And a lot of that came in this auditorium. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go off script here for a second, or a couple minutes maybe, but after listening to Coree's introduction and his story, right, we should all feel motivated to get some exercise, don't you think? So also I had a story with Rob Hasty here before we had the presentation in which he says he hasn't been in this auditorium in 30 years, and I had to remind him, well, he graduated in '94, so it was 29 years actually. But so what I want to try to do tonight, let's have everybody stand on the stage and in the auditorium. If you can, please stand. All right, we're going to play a little game here and just get everybody into this and motivated here, okay? If you can stand, please do. You'll sit soon enough. All right. If you have been in this auditorium, by the way, is as old as the school itself, because this is what the original structure. This auditorium has been in here for almost as long as the school has been. So anybody who's been in Ottawa High School has been in this part of the building. And so I guess if you've been in this auditorium in the last 5 years, go ahead and have a seat. Okay. If you've been in this auditorium in the last 10 years, go ahead and have a seat. I should have started, if you've never been in this auditorium before, go ahead and have a seat. That's probably how I should have started this. Okay, we still have some people standing here. If you haven't been in this auditorium in 15 years, go ahead and have a seat. Wow. If you haven't been in this auditorium in 20 years, please have a seat. This is going to be a tough competition out there. If you have not been in this auditorium in a quarter of a century, 25 years, please have a seat. If you have not been in the auditorium in 30 years, please have a seat. 35 years. If you haven't been in the auditorium in 35 years, please have a seat. Okay, here we go. 40 years. If you have not been in the auditorium in 40 years, please have a seat. Okay, 45 years. Anybody who's not been in the auditorium in 45 years, please have a seat. How many do we have standing still? If you haven't been in this auditorium in 50 years, please have a seat. 55 years? Okay. Remarkable. Everybody give yourselves a round of applause. Rob, you're not alone. Okay. All right, we're almost there. This is now an exciting opportunity because we're going to mark a first for the Hall of Fame. Our next inductee also marks a first for our Hall of Fame. We are inducting our very first IHSA state music champion, the 1983 Ottawa Township High School Music Department. Ottawa Township High School has long enjoyed a very distinguished and accomplished music program. Each year, the Illinois High School Association, IHSA, hosts music sweepstakes, state championships in 5 separate classes based upon enrollment. OTHS has always competed in one of the 2 largest classes. The first state championship for any team or organization at OTHS was accomplished by the 1983 music department with the collaboration and participation of the band, choir, and orchestra. The 1983 group won the second largest class series and in doing so defeated Macomb, at the time the school with the most music championships in IHSA music sweepstakes history. The 1983 music department was the first to reach the championship summit and began an extraordinary streak of future achievement here at this high school. Including that original state championship, OTHS has won 22 state titles in total, 20 in succession. Teams accumulate a total score based upon a number of individual and group entries. To date, in the history of the music sweepstakes, only 5 schools have ever exceeded the 1,000-point barrier. Now keep this in mind, right? You get scored, right? So 1,000 points is this number that's out there. Only 5 schools in the entire history of this sweepstakes have ever broken above 1,000 points. 2 schools have achieved it twice. 2 others have achieved it once. And Ottawa Township High School has achieved this benchmark 19 times. The OTHS Music Department has recorded the top 5 scores in the event over the years and 12 of the top 13 scores in any class over the history of the event. The 1983 Music Department, with 178 students involved, began that accomplished tradition with its first ever state championship. If you are a member of the 1983 Ottawa Township High School Music Department and you're here today, please stand. And on the stage here too, if you can, please stand. Yep. Okay, those of you here in the audience tonight from the music department, when we are done here, I need you to meet with me outside before we go over to the Knights of Columbus Hall, just so I can make sure that I register everybody here, so we'll have a talk after that. And what we're going to do right now, you guys can have a seat. Thank you. Let's all give them a round of applause. These guys made history for our high school. These ladies and gentlemen made history for us. I'm now going to introduce the directors for the 1983 group. Ray McKeever was the band director, Roger Rinaldi was the orchestra director, and Roger Am was the choir director. It was Roger Am's second year teaching here. Here tonight to speak on behalf of the 1983 music department are Roger Am, Roger Rinaldi's daughter Gail Frey, orchestra president Lisa Romano Palacios, and choir president Debbie Dubach Inocencio. First, I'm going to introduce to you Roger Am.
Wow, what a joy to be here tonight. And I just want to say it's an honor to be on the same stage with these Hall of Fame inductees. I have a bit of a connection with all of them, really. David Manigold was my physician for over 30 years. Bill Nevin, in his senior year was my freshman year here. And I was always impressed with his involvement in school activities and his ability with his leadership skills. He was just unbelievable. Coree Woltering, kind of a Renaissance guy, was so involved in both sports and fine arts. Of course, I was especially appreciative of his involvement with the music program. Thanks, Coree. The 85 men's basketball team was so exciting and fun to watch play the game. And it was a pleasure to work with Gary Vancil and Tom Henderson as colleagues. And I appreciated their coaching success and their pursuit of excellence. All these inductees are so deserving of the Hall of Fame, as is the 83 Music Department and its student musicians who captured the first ever IHSA state championship of any OTHS team or organization in the school's history. I'd like to thank the OTHS Education Foundation, the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, the person or persons that nominated us, and the school for honoring the 83 music students and acknowledging their accomplishments. These students set the bar and inspired those that followed in their pursuit of excellence. Even though it took 14 years for the next championship, music students placed in the top 3 in IHSA competition 37 out of 41 years, earning 22 state champions, as was said, 6 runner-up, and 9 third-place trophies. And this is the group that started it all. Of the 22 state championships the OTHS music department has won, the 83 championship was probably the most unexpected and least likely to have happened, and that is a credit to our music students of the time. This championship was won by the least number of points with the least number of students. And as Kane said, it was my second year here, and I was still very wet behind the ears, but luckily, I had the guidance of two of the best, most experienced instrumental instructors in the area, maybe in fact the state, with Ray McKeever and Roger Rinaldi. They were great educators and wonderful mentors, and I looked up to Mr. Rinaldi, and I know we both looked up to Mr. McKeever. 83 was a year of the Great Flood, really in December of 82, but it was the same year as we won this championship, and it was before the levee was built around the school. And beginning December 3rd, the school was flooded. We spent all of December cleaning up after that disaster, and because the school was closed, we had to postpone all of our December concerts and move them to the first week in January. This change in schedule moved our preparation for contests back at least 1 week that year. Even with a month's absence from school and a late start with their preparation, these students persevered. They won the Class A IHSA State Music Championship. You may not know it, but it takes a cooperation and coordination of hundreds of people regarding these titles for OTHS. Besides the challenging work of the students, there is the preparation by the music directors in the elementary and junior high schools, the work by private music instructors with individual lessons, and the countless talented accompanists. All these people lent their time to helping these students prepare for competition and be successful, and we owe a debt of gratitude to all those folks for their dedication. A state championship is a wonderful accomplishment, but I do not think that there are many who participated who would say it defined who they were as musicians. The school has a well-documented music history with many highlights to take pride in. As directors, we were always happier about our students' success in competition, but we were most proud of the way they conducted themselves, the way they dressed, and the way they performed. Countless judges, music directors, and parents of opposing schools always complimented the students of OTHS. These students represented our school with class and humility. We directors, the school, and the community have been and continue to be proud of the accomplishments of the OTHS student musicians and are so incredibly grateful for their participation and dedication to our school. I knew I was going to cry, sorry. To all the 1983 state champion musicians, congratulations on your inclusion in the OTHS Hall of Fame. Thank you. Are you gonna do Strawberry?
Okay, it's my pleasure now next to introduce the president of the choir, and that is Debbie Dubach Inocencio. Debbie?
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here this evening. It's been a wild 2 months since I got the call from Susan talking about what was happening and the award the music department was going to receive tonight into the Hall of Fame. Thinking about all the friends and activities. I mean, my 4 years at Ottawa High School were just wonderful. Great time, and a huge part of that was being in the choir. And I wanted to take this time to just kind of tell you a little story about the choir that year and something that I learned that you would never think of. You know, we did a lot of activities, we did a lot of concerts, we did a lot of contests, and the one contest that I remember the most was a contest that took place actually here at Ottawa High School. And we were given a song by Mr. Am, and it was hard. I mean, we hated it. We would come in every day, we would practice, we hated it. It was hard. But every time that we practiced, we got better and better. And the day that contest happened, we nailed the song. It was perfect. I remember when we finished the song and Mr. Am at the end, you know, that was the end of the song, right? And you could feel the goosebumps because we knew everything that we practiced, everything we worked for, it was awesome. But the thing I wanted to really highlight was the Monday after we got back to the choir room. And we were all excited, but nobody really knew we won. Nobody really thought anything about it, but we knew. We knew. Mr. Am came in that day. He sat down at the piano. He put his hands on the keyboard. He sighed. He took his hand and he clenched his fist and he put it on his heart. Oh, God, now he's going to make me cry. He put it on his heart and he said, you know, sometimes in life you're going to do something and it's going to be something so great and nobody might know. Maybe 100 people will know, maybe 50 people will know, maybe 10 people will know, and maybe only you will know. But that moment is one of the beautiful, most precious moments you'll ever have in life. And over the past 40 years of my life after graduating from Ottawa High School, I've had many moments like that. And I've always remembered those words. If you do something great in life, nobody needs to know. All you have to know is here. So thank you. Thank you.
It's my honor and my privilege to introduce tonight Roger Rinaldi, the orchestra director. His daughter, Gail Frey, and her brother, Paul Rinaldi, are here, and Gail will come up and speak some words on behalf of her father, the orchestra director, Roger Rinaldi. Gail.
Hello, thank you for this great honor. I really wanted my brother to speak, but since he did a 15-minute speech at his daughter's wedding this summer, it was determined that I should get up here. And I don't have any prepared remarks, so I'm joined by my brother Paul from Richardson, Texas, and also with my husband, Coree Frey, my 3 grown children, Marshall, Madison, and Rachel, and if you heard the sweet little voice cooing a little earlier, my almost 6-month-old granddaughter. So very happy that they were all able to join me here today. So I don't know how many people here know my dad. I know Wally, you mentioned earlier that you worked with my mom and my dad. They had a combo, you know, 5 kids, teacher salaries. We didn't have a lot of money, so they worked gigs on the weekends. And as the oldest, I was in charge of the 4 other kids. And they loved music, both of my parents. My mother is still alive. My dad passed away in 2019. I wish he were here because he would so love being honored. He loved being honored and feeling special. He had a passion for music. He was a trumpeter. If you ever heard him play, he just blew the socks off. Often when he was directing his band, I'm not sure about the orchestra, but he would grab a horn and he would play it himself to show the other students how to play. But his gift was teaching. He really enjoyed his students. He took great pride in what he did. My brother sent me a sweet picture just, I think, yesterday of him teaching my nephew, Paul's son, Isaac, how to play the trumpet. And you could just see he was so specific in how he was trying to teach him. Just you could tell with his eyes what he was trying to accomplish. He was very patient. But if you know my dad, he was not so patient, too. And I had the opportunity to have both of my parents be my teachers in high school. So that was a interesting experience as a 16, 17-year-old person. But if particularly the trumpet section, since that was his horn, weren't playing properly, he would lob the baton at the trumpet section like, okay, you're not playing that right, let's get with it. He strived not for 100%, he strived for 150%. He wanted to be the best. He wanted his orchestras, his bands, his marching bands to be the best. He was proud. I can remember walking in parades and him standing proudly with his hat on. We all had to be lined up. There was just really very minimal opportunity for nothing but the very best, and he instilled that in all of his students. To this day, and I'm on Facebook sort of, there will be like classes in the 1970s, students will post memories of both of my parents actually, and the joy that they got from being in the band and the choir throughout the years. And I went to Seneca High School, so I can't speak much for what went on here at Ottawa with the orchestra, but if it was anything close to what we experienced, it was always a fun time. And before inclusive was a word that now we all talk about every day, my dad was inclusive. If somebody wanted to be in the band, even if he had to put them on the cowbell or the cymbals, they were going to be in the band and be part of that group. Seneca was a very small school. Everybody was in the band. Everybody enjoyed being part of the music department. And I really wish my dad were here, because I know that he would be super honored to receive this gift, really. And I want to thank everyone that was involved. It started with a Facebook post. I'm not, like I said, a big Facebook, but I think Kate or Cal or somebody with a K hit me up one night on a Saturday night, like, "Are you Roger Rinaldi's daughter?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm honored to be his daughter." And then it went from there. And so I'm glad that I'm here today with my family. And once again, thank everyone that bestowed this honor upon my dad. Thank you.
Gail, I just want you to know that I'm your Facebook stalker. I'm the one who emailed you on Facebook. I'm your Facebook stalker, so. It's now my pleasure to introduce the orchestra president, Lisa Romano Palacios, to come up and give a few comments.
I wanted to talk about a few things that I know. One thing that I know is teaching. I was a teacher. I spent 9 years in the classroom. The rest of my career, a large part of it, was traveling the country, working with teachers, coaching them, supervising, evaluating, working in districts that weren't making adequate progress under No Child Left Behind. And I know the power of teaching, and the teachers that we had here are the reason that we're standing here today. So if you picked up a violin or a viola or a cello or a string bass in 1974, you would have started, your first orchestra teacher would have been Anna Hale. She, after meeting me and having my first lesson, went out and told my parents that there was a violinist here. And my mom told me that story quite often. I'm sorry. 3 years ago today, my mom died. Would be their 63rd wedding anniversary today, and I lost my dad 2 months ago, so this is a little tough for me right now. But I like to believe, the other thing that I know is that as long as people remember you and you're in their memory and you name them, that they are not truly ever gone. And that's the case with Anna Hale. She passed away when we were in high school, but she's still here. When you went on as an orchestra student at Shepherd Junior High School, your orchestra conductor was Lee Montanus, and he got us ready to come to high school. And I had 2 orchestra conductors in high school. Art Foley was the orchestra conductor my freshman and sophomore year. He moved on to Naperville District 203 and retired from there, and we're friends on Facebook. Your dad was my orchestra conductor for the last 2 years. And thank you for coming. He had such an impact on me, and I really appreciate that. I also want to talk about the other people that contribute, and I know that I have friends in the audience. All of us took private lessons. If you were an orchestra student, if you were a violinist, you took lessons from Debbie Shea. You took lessons from Dorothy Lunning, Everett Lunning's wife at the time. You took lessons from Lois Irian. who promptly stuck you in the Illinois Valley Symphony Orchestra, where you didn't know anything and you just kind of looked around and saw what other people were doing and figured out that's what the music was telling you to do. They were also really instrumental in having us win this as well. And the people that are kind of behind the scenes that we don't often thank are, for so many of our performances, we had accompanists. And my boyfriend at the time, Joel Jameson, was my accompanist in high school. Mary Rose was one of my accompanists. I think she was my all-time favorite. Mary Ryan was also an accompanist for me. And Debbie Shea, when I was a youngster, she accompanied us too. So I wanted to name their names. I wanted them to be remembered. I want everyone who was in orchestra or played any instrument to remember those people that stood behind us so that we could stand here today and we could set that foundation for the ongoing, continuing run of music championships. And I'm so grateful that I was part of that first year. Thank you so much.
Okay, at this time, what I would like is anybody in the audience who was in the 1983 music department to please come forward, or if you're representing a family member in the 1983 music department, please come up to the stage. Come on up, don't be shy, come on up. And those of you here, come on up to the front here. We're just going to have you all line up. I would say if you want to just go ahead and line up in a line here underneath the screen, that would be great. It's wonderful to see so many faces come in here from the music department. Great. Okay, what I would like to do now is I would like all of us to stand and honor the 1983 Ottawa Township High School Music Department, the first organization or team in this school to win a state championship. And we're all going to get together when we're done here, and we're going to have some more over at the Knights of Columbus Hall tonight. Thank you all for being here, okay? Thank you very much. I tried to convince Wally Lindemann, who was the president of the band, to talk tonight, but he didn't want to give a speech. He thinks that everybody here just did a fine job, but thanks for being here tonight. Yes, Wally, yes. Okay, last but certainly not least, it is my honor tonight to introduce our team. The team inductee this evening is the 1984-1985 Varsity Boys Basketball Team. The 1984-85 boys basketball team finished 23-6 and is the most recent team to make it to the Elite Eight in the Illinois High School Association IHSA State Tournament. At the time, Illinois held their championships in two classes based on enrollment, with OTHS competing in the largest class, AA. Illinois moved to the two-class system in the 1971 to 1972 season, then to its current four-class system in 2007 to 2008. The team was crowned the Ottawa Thanksgiving Tournament champion, as well as the North Central Illinois Conference co-champion with a record of 11-1. During the IHSA state tournament, they won the regional title with a 76-60 victory over LaSalle, Peru, the sectional title with a 60-58 victory over Rock Falls, the super sectional Sweet 16 with a 67-65 victory over Peoria Richwoods, who was ranked 6th in the state, before being eliminated in the Elite Eight, 81-66 by Cahokia. The Pirates were a perfect 12-0 in OTHS's iconic Kingman Gym, extending the Pirates' consecutive home game winning streak to 44. Captain Scott Miller was unanimous NCIC first-team selection, selected third-team All-State by the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association, was the top scorer and rebounder and named MVP by his teammates. Mark Setchell and Rick Hayne were NCIC second team selections. They'll probably be introduced again tonight, but I just want to mention tonight the team members who are here with us: Matt Winchester, Dewey Gould, Rick Hayne, Brad Hartshorn, Ted Trager, George Johnson, Mark Setchell, Tony Sinning, Scott Miller, Greg Streul, Jay Stortz. And unfortunately, head coach Gary Vancil couldn't be here tonight, but he has provided a video that we would like to show you here now.
Hello, all the Ottawa Pirate coaches, players, fans. I want to express my gratitude to all, and congratulations to all of the 2023 Ottawa High School Hall of Fame inductees. And a special shout out to the 84-85 basketball team that are so deserving of this honor. Thank you to the committee for selecting the 84-85 Ottawa Pirate basketball team. It was 38 years ago, this coming March, that team became regional champions, advanced to the sectional in the Quad Cities, sectional champions, and moved on to the super sectional in Carver Arena in Peoria to play against a top-notch Peoria Richwoods team. We trailed the entire game. Remember specifically, we were down 10 going into the fourth quarter and stormed back to pull off the upset in the waning seconds of the game and set off quite a celebration that translated into a big pep rally in Kingman Gym when we returned probably close to midnight from Peoria. This team is so deserving, and I'm thankful that they will now take their place in Ottawa Pirate history forever. Great job, men. I miss being there, but I'm there in spirit. Go Pirates.
It's now my honor to introduce former Ottawa Pirate, always an Ottawa Pirate, Scott Miller, who will speak for the group.
Pretty tough road to follow here with all these good speakers tonight, so I'm going to do my best. First of all, I'd like to thank the Educational Foundation. Got a cold, so speaking kind of deep, but for honoring our team to be at the Hall of Fame. Also like to congratulate all the other individuals that are being honored tonight. Sorry, Coach Vancil couldn't make it. Hope he gets a speedy recovery. And so it's been almost 38 years since the 84-85 team, we went down to state. It was quite a year. No one ever expected, even us, that we would ever get that accomplishment. I remember when I was in 5th grade, Grand Ridge Grade School. That was 1978, when the 78 team went down to state. Remember, it was, the Kane boys was on it from the Grand Ridge area. We were looking out our window as they come by. There was a parade of buses and stuff. I think there's fire trucks and policemen coming by. I was waving to them. And I was just starting to learn how to play basketball in 5th grade. And I thought, wow, that would be a dream someday to go down to state and go through that experience. So we started out the year as the Thanksgiving tournament. And if I recall, it was the 3rd game of the tournament, but anytime you walked into the gymnasium floor and you come out of them doors and you heard Jesus Christ Superstar being played, you just rose to a different level. Your emotions took over, and it was unexplainable. You can ask any of these guys out here, it was something. But this one night, I do believe it was the 3rd game of the tournament, we were getting ready to play Joliet West, and we were down in the tunnel, and there at the other end, and they're chanting, "Who dat? Who dat?" And if anybody knew me very well, you got underneath my skin. That wasn't a very good thing to do. And that just added to these anxiety to go out there and play ball. So we went out, and Jesus Christ Superstar is playing, and we're out warming up. By the end of that game, we walked into the tunnel, and we were saying, "Who dat? Who dat?" We sent them guys home, and we bring home the tournament championship again. Throughout the year, like they said, we extended the home game winning streak, and it was quite a night. It was something special. Some memories throughout the year, I just try to top a few off, is just remembering the practices. Coach Vancil always had his practice to the minute, from how long the practice lasted, and he stuck to it. And there was a lot of hard practices. Sometimes you just shook your head. I mean, you want to just go home. But we always had Coach Henderson there, and all of us. Anytime you got down, he was always there. He'd come put his arm around you. It's okay, everything's okay. He always smoothed things over for you. He was quite a guy. So, of course, we went out through the year. We were winning some games we weren't supposed to. We were underdogs quite a bit. And the first game, we get toward the end of the year, last regular season game of the year, I remember we went over to Streeter, and we played Streeter, and it was their senior night. And, they were all psyched up. And if I recall, it was a 96-87 loss, the last season of the game of the year. And Coach Vancil wasn't very happy. That next morning practice, boys, it was a tough one. So that started our run to the state tournament. As he said, we won the regional. Went over there to see my buddy Vince Kaspersky over to LaSalle, and we beat them. Went over to Rock Island, won. Then went down to Peoria. Of course, we were underdogs down there. Weren't expected to win, and we were down by 10 twice, but I do believe at halftime, and then the third we come back and tied it up and went down by 10 again, and we fought our way back. And obviously we were down by 2, and I got fouled. Down by 2, and I got fouled. Down by 1 with 8 seconds to go. And I don't remember a lot of things, but I remember one thing. We're walking into, they call a timeout, I'd ice me, and we're walking into the timeout, or George Johnson says, "Scott, you missed these, we're not going to state." I was like, "Thanks, Georgie." So we sit down, and Coach Vancil was confident the whole way. He's going to make these 2. We're going to go down this, and we're going to win. So fortunately enough, somehow I made my 2 free throws, and they had no timeouts left. And, we went down. I got a charge, and they fouled me again, and the rest was history. But anyway, we won. And, boy, you talk about people storming the floor. It was unbelievable. It's memories that you can't forget. Everybody was on the floor. We come home, and we're expecting this big parade as we come home. And I think we had a fancy bus, chartered bus, and we come up through the north side of town. We drove right through town. We don't see nobody. Well, they all must have went somewhere else. I guess they were all waiting at South Town Mall for us coming this way. They had fire trucks and policemen, and we snuck right into the school. But as Coach Vancil said, it was a party. If I remember right, we got home like 3 o'clock in the morning. It was a party. So we on our way down to state. We played well. We played Cahokia. They shot 62%. Next day, they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But it's the memories. It's walking out go down to Illinois, walking out in the dome, coming down through that tunnel as a senior in high school. You get out there, and it's like just a different world. That's something that I dreamed of my 5th grade year that I could do, and we made it. We got it done. That's something that you can tell your kids, grandkids, or whatever. We didn't win. We played well. We got the opportunity, got the experience. That's, like I say, it's a dream. I coached my son, through the years, and like I said, you always give 110%. When we practice, all them hard practices that you wanted to walk away, you thank Coach Vancil in the end because they were all worth it. They got what we wanted, and that's what I told them, my kids and stuff. You you give 100%, 110%, and you just never know, what might come out of it. Here we are 38 years later, all here in the stage. Who would have thought 38 years ago that here, because of this, because we worked our tails off and we made it down there, that here we all are, united again on stage with this great honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I want to thank all my teammates, my coaches, family, fans, everybody that got us there. It was a great ride, and every now and then I just think about it. It was special. It is special. Not everybody gets to experience that. Every team sets out at the beginning of the year to do the best they can, and some people make it and some people don't. And we were one of the fortunate teams to make it. And it's a great honor and something that I will always cherish. So I thank you for the time. Appreciate you coming. And that's it. Thank you, guys. Danny Isles. Is Danny Isles here today? Come on up. We got something for you. Got a basketball for you. We all signed it today to give to you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, Danny was always there at the games. He was a good reporter. He did the best he could. He did the best anybody did. So he put in a lot of time. He's a good guy. So, thank you so much. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to now introduce the team, and we're going to have them come up and stand underneath the picture, and then we're going to play a game to see if we can match them below it. Okay, team members with us here tonight. Matt Winchester, come on up. Dewey Gould. Rick Hayne. Brad Hartshorn. Ted Trager. George Johnson. Mark Setchell. Tony Sinig. Scott Miller's up there. Greg Streul. And last but not least, Jay Stortz. If you guys can all come and stand in front of the stage here, in front of your picture, and line up, we'll do a curtain call. Let's all give them another round of applause. Congratulations and thank you. Awesome. Okay, now you guys can have a seat. I'm making everybody do exercise here tonight. Well, the good news is this part of our evening is over. What I'd like to do at this point right now is I would like everybody, could you please stand? Let's everybody stand and give all of our inductees and their representatives one last ovation tonight. In closing, I once again leave you with the words on that Hall of Fame plaque. From ordinary beginnings, many through determination, commitment, effort, and high expectations have accomplished the extraordinary. I thank you all for attending this evening's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. On behalf of the Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation, thank you. We hope to see you at future induction ceremonies, and this concludes part one of tonight's festivities. I invite you all now to make your way over to the Knights of Columbus Hall just a few blocks west on Main Street for part two of our 2022 Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which is our celebration dinner. And anybody from the class of 1983 music department or family members representing that music department, please stay here or come up to the stage so I can talk to you before we go over there. But everybody else, we'll see you at the Knights of Columbus Hall. Thank you.